Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Divyam Gandhi and today we are going to talk about books. I have been passionate about books since I was a child, and books are like my escape world, and they're so important to me. They're such an important part of my life. So I am starting this new thing where at the end of every month or the beginning of new month, I will release a video talking about the books I read in the previous month and my to be read books in the next month. So this video is about the books I read in September and my TBR for the October. So usually I read around 3 to 4 books in a month. That's ideal for me, but this was a slow month. So I only read 2 books. Now I usually read one non-fiction per month, and I take non-fiction slow because it's not enough to just have the knowledge. You have to implement it to actually learn things. So I take an entire month to get through a non-fiction book, and in the process I implement whatever I'm learning. And as for fiction, I get through 2 to 3 fictions a month. But for this month, I only read one non-fiction and one fiction book. So let me start with the fiction book. So the fiction book that I read this month is Lee Child's Killing Floor. This was the first book that I've ever read of this author, and I think he has an entire series where his main character is the same, who is Jack Reacher, and it's called, I think, Jack Reacher series. So this is the first book where Jack Reacher is introduced, and it was fun. It was really fun book, and there was an amazing build-up of suspense. And a lot of places I used to be lying down reading, and then I used to just sit up to process what just happened. So it was a lot of twists and turns, which I really enjoyed. But I have to say, I think I expected a little more from the entire unraveling of the suspense. But I think it's a good book. Not one of the best crime fictions I've read, but good enough. I think I would give this somewhere between 3.5 to 3.75 stars out of 5. So that was the fiction book that I read. Now for the non-fiction book. The non-fiction book that I read this month was Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. And I was very interested to know what this book has to offer because I have already read Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it is such a thorough book. It is such it's a book that covers almost everything when it comes to habit developing. And I really wanted to know what else I will be learning from this. And I have to tell you, this was an amazing book. So in a lot of ways, Atomic Habits and Tiny Habits run parallel. Like they talk about the same things, about making habits small, about having prompts for habits, and identity change identity change as a way of sticking with habits. But Tiny Habit deals with habit development from a behavioral aspect, and it is it's very different. It's not just about developing habits. It's about every single kind of behavior that you can build in your life. And BJ Fogg has this behavioral model that I am going to make a video about. I am still experimenting with what I have learned in this book. So I will make a video once I am done and once I have some results. But even if you have read Atomic Habits, this book is a must read because you learn so much more than just habit development. You learn so much about every kind of behavior that you do in your day-to-day life. So I would thoroughly recommend this book to anybody who is trying to change their life in any way. The most intriguing part about this book to me was that when I started listening to this, I listened to nonfiction as an audiobook. So when I started listening to this book, one of the first few things that BJ Fogg mentions is you don't need willpower to create habit, which was completely opposite to everything that I have known about habit changes. So that was a really interesting perspective, and he actually goes through the entire process in the book to tell us how you don't need willpower, and it's really amazing. The second thing that I love about this book is the author focuses on how the change can only happen when you feel good about yourself, when you feel good about the change. And a lot of us, when it comes to habit development or changing our lives, we beat ourselves up when we can't stick with habits. And that is not how you change. So this was a really enlightening read, and I really loved it. And I think even if you have read Atomic Habits, you should still read Tiny Habits. And I will make a separate video after I have experimented with the behavior model mentioned in this book. So that's it for September. Now for October, my TBR has around 4 to 5 books. One is non-fiction, the rest are all fiction. So the non-fiction book is Body Kindness. And I'm really excited to read this book because I think because body image issues is something that people deal with in day-to-day lives, and I have personally dealt with it for a lot of years. So I have heard really great things about this book, and I'm really excited to see what this book has to offer. For fiction, I actually have a series, and this is a series that I think was released last year, but I never really got to it or paid attention to it. But recently, I just kept coming across some Bookstagram posts which really intrigued me, and I really wanted to read this series. So I just ordered these books. So the series is the Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black, and I think a lot of people must have heard of this. The first book is Cruel Prince, the second book is The Wicked King, and the third book is The Queen of Nothing. So these are the three books that I want to read. I also have one romance book in my TBR, which is Cohen by Sawyer Bennett. Obviously, it's a stretch. So if I get through all of them, great. Even if I don't, no worries. But I am really, really intrigued about reading this. So that is my October TBR and the books that I read in September. If you have any book recommendations for me, please comment them down below. I would love to get to them. And if you like this kind of content about up-leveling your life and growing, please subscribe to my channel. I will see you in my next video. Bye.